All right, hey guys. Today we are going to talk about Scythe, which is your newest novel that we're going to start this 6 weeks. So, we're going to have a little overview about it and talk about what it's about and take a little quiz to kind of see where you would fit into the society. Just basically a whole little introduction. Now, I say the word quiz, but please don't freak out. This is not for a grade or anything like that. So it's just to kind of get you assimilated and used to the novel. So the novel takes place in a futuristic dystopian society. It's similar to the same idea that you saw with Fahrenheit 451, where you have a society that relies heavily on technology and it's set up to be perfect, but it doesn't really meet those parameters. Medical advancements and technology in itself have come so far that no one dies, at least not of natural causes. If someone does accidentally die, they're revived. So let's say you got run over by a train, they would bring you back. Now, they don't go into a lot of explanation about how someone is revived, but my typical assumption would probably be that it's through cloning and that sort of technological advancement, as all scientific or sci-fi novels and dystopian societies are typically based off of technology that we do already have the abilities or capabilities to do. And since we already have that cloning capability, it would stand to reason that Shusterman wrote with that idea in mind. Either way, regardless of whether or not they go into it a great deal, if something happens and you accidentally die, they bring you back to life. If you age to a point that your body starts failing, so let's say that you reach 89 and your kidneys start failing, they simply reset you. Once again, I would definitely probably argue that this is a cloning process and they transfer your conscience over to your new younger self. In the novel, it talks about the fact that they haven't gone below the age of 20 in resetting someone. So that's the youngest they've gone, but they do imply that it could happen where they go younger in the future. The government is known as the Thunderhead. It's an artificial intelligence that has evolved to a point of being sentient. When I say sentient, what I mean is it has developed a working conscience. Now, I don't mean conscience like Jiminy Cricket, I'm going to be your guide conscience, and I'm going to tell you what is right and wrong morally. It has the ability to reason in human ways. It can take a problem and reason it out to the point that it is basically alive or acts as though a live creature would act. In light of the fact that no one dies, there is a massive overpopulation. So because of this, the Thunderhead responds to it, because like I said, it reasons out everything, and it creates the Scythedom. The Scythedom is a group of specifically chosen people who become scythes. And there are ways in which you are chosen to be a scythe. They don't just randomly pick somebody off the street. You don't volunteer for it. You aren't born into it, nothing like that. You have to be chosen. Once you're chosen to be a scythe and you go through the process of becoming one, which is what we're going to see with our main characters, Rowan and Citra. They're teenagers that are going through the process of becoming scythes. Neither one of them really were like, yes, I want to be a scythe, which you'll see more of that. There's a stigma that surrounds the idea of being a scythe. So they weren't super happy about it, but they both kind of went with it because it's also one of those things you don't really say no to. It's kind of like if the Pope asks you if you want to be a priest. So you go with it, pretty much. Or if I'm trying to think of another example. Your mom asks you if you have done your homework. You don't really say no, typically. You either go with it and you say, oh, well, I'm going to do it. Or you say, yeah, I've done it. That you don't. There's certain answers you can't give. And choosing as far as the scythe situation goes, that's one of them. You pretty much have to go with it. But once they go through the process of becoming a scythe, which that's what we're going to see is Citra and Rowan going through that process, they then have the ability to do what's called gleaning. If you glean someone, essentially that means you kill them. How you kill someone is, or how the scythe kills someone is completely and wholly up to the scythe. As we go through the novel, you will see different scythes glean or kill people in different ways. Some are very kind about it, and they do things like they'll give their, I don't want to call them victim, but the person being gleaned a pill, and that pill will cause them to fall asleep and they'll die in their sleep. While some are much more brutal. So I won't get into details about that, but there are some of the deaths are pretty rough. So what we're going to do today is we're going to see where you would fit in this futuristic scythe world that Neil Shusterman has created. Neil Shusterman, by the way, guys, is the guy who wrote Unwind, just to give you kind of an idea of what type of world that you're going to be looking at. So this is similar to probably when you were in junior high, you took that Unwind quiz to see where you would end up. This is the same type of idea. If you didn't, you'll find out soon how it all goes. But what I need you to do is answer these questions honestly. So if you don't have a sheet of paper or a pen or a pencil, please grab one really quick, or grab your phone. You can always type the answers in your phone or write them if you have a way to screen write on your phone. And then, of course, just any sheet of scratch paper. If you need to pause this video real quick, you can just pause it, go get some paper, pen, something to quickly write your answers down. You're not writing out big, long sentences. You're just going to write A, B, C, D. But you do need to write them down, because if you don't, you won't be able to keep up with your results at the end. As I go through, I'm going to read through the questions pretty quickly. If you want, I suggest that you pause at the end of each question. To keep this video from going too long, I am just going to read through them and not give any time to think, really. But if you would like some more time to think, just simply pause the video, think about it, and write your answer down. Remember, there's no wrong answer. But please answer honestly. Don't answer about what's morally correct or what your friend would do or anything like that. Answer what you think you would honestly do so that your results are legitimate for you. All right, so question number 1. You and your teammates have worked hard all season long and just won the championship and biggest contest of the year. You A, stay on the field, yelling, hugging, taking pictures. You've worked hard for this and you've earned this celebration. B, let the other team know you think they played well and leave the field quietly. Oh, wrong button. C, take a few pics with your team, like take a few pictures and then leave fairly quietly. You know, you're kind of celebrating, but you're not going too crazy about it. You're proud of what you've done, but you don't want to rub it in the other team's face. D, ask the other team to take a picture with your team. Place the trophy in the middle of you guys, and then allow kind of all groups to have a spot and get in on the picture. Even though you proudly won this, you know that it's a moment that everybody worked hard to get to. Number 2, which of the following would be your dream job? A, a professional athlete, a movie star, or a musician. B, a doctor, a nurse, or a teacher. C, an accountant, a coach, or something in computer technology field. You know, maybe you want to make video games. Maybe you want to make animation movies, something of that nature. Anything kind of artsy would go right there, probably. D, law enforcement, legal system, or pilot. Keep in mind with these jobs, if what you really want to do is not here, try to find something maybe close to what you want to do just to fit your personality. Number 3, you're walking through the food court in the mall when a shooter opens fire. There are multiple people around you, and you have a split second to decide what to do. You A, grab one of the heavy chairs on the table and defend yourself, choosing to either throw it or hit the shooter if you can get close enough. B, help as many people as you can before leaving quickly through the side door. The remaining people will have to fend for themselves. C, hide, quickly and quietly escape. Your goal is to save yourself. You don't know anyone there, and your first natural instinct is just to survive. D, Call the police and then create a distraction so as many people as possible can escape. So maybe do something to get the shooter's attention. Number 4, which of the following would be your ideal place to live? A, a beautiful mansion on the beach. B, a small cottage in the country. And a cottage is going to be, like a tiny little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. Think log cabin, except a really small log cabin, but in the country. A house in the suburbs, so in a town about the size of Mount Pleasant. So that's kind of like if you live in town in Mount Pleasant right now, you would be in a small little subdivision type area. If you've got neighbors, you already live in the suburbs. So maybe that's how you see your future. And as far as the town size, about the size of the town of Mount Pleasant, think Greenville, Sulphur Springs, all those towns are relatively the same size. D, a loft in the city connected to everything. So like a really nice apartment. That's what a loft is in the city. And when I say connected to everything, you're in downtown New York City or downtown Dallas or downtown somewhere in the city in this really nice apartment. Number 5, you and your friends are planning a movie night. What type of movies would you most likely choose to watch? A, horror, mystery, or suspense. B, love stories, documentaries, or movies based on real events. C, cartoon movies, family movies, or comedies. And D, action, adventure, or fantasy movies. And with the adventure fantasy movie, action, that's going to be, the Avengers, Batman. I'm trying to think of something else that's Gemini Man is a newer movie that would fit in here. If there's any kind of shooting, Fast and the Furious, they'd fit in there, that kind of stuff. You win a free all expense paid vacation and are told you can choose how you want to spend it. Which of the following do you pick? A, traveling to the Bahamas, Jamaica, or any number of island locations. You're surfing, you're boating, you're on the coast pretty much all day long in the water. And then at night, you're at the hotel bar and the pool and hanging out, having a good time. B, going on a missionary trip. You're helping do everything from bring fresh water to communities, to helping clean the village, to maybe even going so far as helping vaccinate children or deliver food, that kind of thing. C, staying at home. You want to spend your time reading, lounging, watching TV, playing video games, maybe even sleeping. D, traveling to Europe. So you want kind of an adventure, trekking across the country with friends, backpacking, enjoying the nightlife. That says nightlight, but it's supposed to say nightlife. Hiking, snow skiing, and enjoying other various activities during the day. So pretty active, pretty adventurous type of thing across Europe. Not having a real solid destination there, just kind of traveling as you go. Seven, in the future, mankind will have endless ways to travel and all at their fingertips. Which of the following modes of transportation would you choose the most often? A, a car. No reason to ride with strangers. It's quick and it gets you there without much hassle. As a matter of fact, in Scythe, they have cars that drive themselves, which is super interesting because we actually have that now. B, walk or bike. Backpacking and taking your time. You don't really want to do the whole technology thing. You still enjoy walking, biking, going places like that, especially if you live in the city and you don't have a far to travel. C, train or subway. Safe and quick way to get from city to city. Especially in Scythe, they have trains and subway systems that take them everywhere. Everything is connected at that point. So they can take a train or a subway everywhere they go. Think of it like a bus system. D, a plane, as fast as possible. You want to get to your destination right now and you don't have time for biking or going on trains or even the car, the self-driving car. You want to be there in 10 minutes. Number 8, if you had to play a sport, which would you choose? A, skiing, surfing, X Games. And X Games would be like, dirt bike riding, skateboarding, that kind of stuff. B, tennis, track, or swimming. C, volleyball, racquetball, baseball, softball, golf, sorry. D, football, hockey, soccer, or basketball. Number 9, during class, the teacher gets on to you for talking, but it is actually not you. It's the person sitting next to you. A, you let the teacher know it was not you talking and quickly tell on those who are. So this is that moment where you're like, it wasn't me, it was Jonathan. You're not getting written up. And if you do, you will soon be arguing with the AP as well. B, you quickly say okay and continue doing your work. You see no point in arguing, and you don't want anyone else to get into trouble if it's not necessary. So you don't argue with the teacher. You're just like, okay. And even though you know it's not you don't say anything, and you don't tell on anybody because, what's the point? It's kind of what you think. C, you avoid responding at all. So in this scenario, you don't respond to the teacher. You don't want to agree with them, but you don't want to argue either because you don't want to get in trouble. So you don't want to say that you did it, but you don't want to say that you didn't. So you just choose to stay quiet. But you do, like when the teacher's gone back to doing whatever it was they were doing, like nudge your classmate or look at your classmate or say something to them to tell them to be quiet. D, you stand up for yourself and you just flat out argue with the teacher. This is that moment where you're like, it wasn't me. You're not trying to be rude, but you're not going to let her or him accuse you of doing something you are clearly not doing. Of course, now the big difference between A and D, because in A, you tell them it wasn't you as well. But in D, you don't tell on who was talking. In A, you say, it was Jonathan. In D, you don't. You just argue with her that it wasn't you. Number 10, the bell is about to ring and you're almost to class when someone trips in front of you. You, A, laugh loudly and cut up about it with your friends, continuing on to class because you can't afford to be tardy again. So you just leave them there. B, you stop and help them pick up their things and you don't laugh or anything like that. You may end up being tardy, but you will suffer the consequences. C, stop others from making fun of them. So you tell others like, shut up guys, and you continue on to class. You don't actually help them, but you do keep others from making fun of them. You would help them, but you can't be tardy and you're not going to argue with the teacher over it. It's not, you're like, this isn't my problem, and you move on. D, you laugh loudly, but then you help them. You'll probably be tardy, but you'll explain it to the teacher when you get there. And if you have to, you'll tell an AP if you end up getting written up. All right. Now that you've gone through all the questions and hopefully paused the video as much as you need to, I want you to look at your answers and I want you to count how many you got in each letter. So go through and count how many A's, count how many B's, count how many C's, count how many D's. You do need a clear winner. So if something happens and you have two letters that tie, I want you to rewind the video, pause, and just rethink the answers that you picked for those two particular letters. So if you picked 4 A's and 4 B's, go back and look at those questions and see if you might actually side maybe one way more or the other with A or B, with one of your two ties, or maybe even a third option. But you do need a clear winner, okay? Once you have decided that and you figured out which one is your clear winner, you now know, or are about to know, what is going to happen to you if you lived in this world that Shusterman, has created. If you get mostly A's, or got mostly A's, you will be gleaned. That means you're going to die. I know I said that like I'm smiling, but it's really terrible. You're going to die. You're a risk taker. This is what's caused all this. You're quick to anger. You're seldom to back down. You're brave and you're strong, and you always stand up for yourself. You typically react off emotions, though, and you love being the center of attention. You're very proud of your accomplishments, which there's nothing wrong with that. And you often work extremely hard for them. But you give everything you've got to proving yourself, and it shows through the stuff that you do. However, Due to your adventure seeking behavior and attention grabbing achievements, you're quickly noticed, not only by those around you, but also by the Scythedom. In the Scythe world, you almost kind of want to blend in with the background to a certain degree as much as you can to survive. Of course, there is a downfall to that, but that is another letter. Your strong-willed nature causes you to fight, dying to the bitter end. So when the Scythe shows up to glean you, you don't go out easily. You do know that there's no escaping your fate, but you are not going to go out without a fight. Either way, because of your adventure-seeking behavior and your attention-grabbing, stuff, your achievements and stuff, the Scythe sees your death as tragic but natural, and he gleans you, but at an old age. So you're going to live for a long time. And in the Scythe world, you could live up to 100, maybe even more, maybe 400 years. So, because they live a pretty long time. So you will ultimately be gleaned because you achieve so much, and you're adventure seeking, but you'll be old. So that's a plus. If you got mostly Bs, you will be chosen to be a Scythe. You're calm, you're kind, you're logical. In most situations, you weigh your options and you very seldom just jump to conclusions. When you're forced to choose, you typically choose the most logical path. Like you go with logic, you don't really go off emotions. You will often sacrifice in order to help others. However, your self-sacrificing but logical nature places you into a position where the Scythedom views you as a perfect candidate. You're forced to leave everything you know and all of your loved ones behind, because when you'll see with Citra and Rowan, they have to leave their family and that's it. You are forced to leave everything you know and all the loved ones behind to prepare you for making decisions about who dies each and every day. Your inability to see any real logic and serious confrontation causes you to go without much complaint. So you don't really argue with it. You kind of go with it, if any at all, and your humble attitude keeps you from truly standing up for yourself. Thus, you become a Scythe. If you got mostly Cs, you will live forever, which sounds pretty cool, but let's wait for it. So, you're extremely laid back, and you don't get upset quickly. In most situations, you think things through, and you weigh your options, just like the bees do. You typically choose the path of least resistance, though, not necessarily the most logical path. You're going to go kind of with the easiest route. You're smart in class, and you're known for making smart choices, but you're not too full of yourself to laugh and have fun when the time calls for it. While you can accomplish many things in life, you don't really feel the need to flaunt these accomplishments in any way, and you find yourself most drawn to relaxing and really staying out of the limelight. You don't like to have the center of attention on you. However, your intelligence and relaxed nature causes you to truly care about very little, so you don't really overly invest in a whole lot. You keep to yourself and you rarely put yourself out there for others. You spend a lot of time alone. While the Scythe does not see you as a natural choice for gleaning, you have set yourself up for really a kind of lonely life, because at a certain point, most, if not all, of those around you, family members included, will be gleaned and you'll kind of be left alone. So living forever may seem great, but it can also be pretty sad. If you got mostly Ds, you will be gleaned as well. However, you're a little bit different than the As, all right? You're a risk taker, like the As, and you're quick to anger and you seldom back down, also like the As. Like the As, you're brave and you're strong and you always stand up for yourself. However, this is your big difference. The A's will stand up for themselves, but when it comes to others, they kind of are like, man, you're on your own. The D's have a tendency to fight for the underdog. You react off emotions and you'll fight for something you believe in, especially something you really believe in. You'll fight very hard for it. You're very proud of your accomplishments and you believe that hard work deserves recognition, which, I don't blame you. Not just for yourself, but for anyone involved. So Like I said, you'll fight for other people and you'll fight to get them recognized as well, not just yourself. You aren't afraid to fight, and you rarely make excuses. However, due to your risk taking and often self sacrificing nature, you are quickly noticed not only by those around you, but also by the Scythedom. Your defiance and bravery cause you to accept death. So, unlike the A's who fight it all the way to the end, you go with it. You're like, yeah, I guess I can see it is what it is. But it also often places you in extremely difficult and dangerous situations. As such, the Scythe sees your death as inevitable, meaning they believe that in the time when death was happened naturally, that you would have died inevitably and that it would have been at a young age. So the Scythe gleaned you at a young age, which in this world could be, it could be very young. It could be as young as a little kid to what they consider young, which would be like 80s or so. But you are gleaned much earlier than the A's. So there you have it. Now you know where you were fit in if you were to be a part of this society. I really hope you like this book. I know some people liked 451 and some people didn't, but I really feel as though most people will really love this novel. Most of my students typically do. It's a much easier read than 451 was, and it is longer, but the pages, the spacing on the pages is much wider, and the font is much bigger. So that kind of affects the length. If it was written in the same font size and spacing as 451, it probably wouldn't be much longer. Maybe a little bit, but not much longer than 451. So, and I do think you'll like it. For your first reading quiz, you need to read page 1 through 75. And by tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, I'll have to look at the thing to see. You can look on your daily to-do list to verify. But you need to read chapters 1 and 2. Basically, before you watch that short answer review video, make sure you've read chapters 1 and 2. Of course, you can watch it without that, but you won't be able to answer the questions well. So please make sure that you do that so that you can answer and understand the video fully, because it will help you for your future assignments. All right, guys. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I hope you love Scythe.